I want everybody to look at your website, teepasnow.com. And Snow is easy to remember.
Snow is easy.
Teepa, Teepa, Snow.com. Where's your name Teepa come from?
Where does that come from? Well, my mother thought it was a very clever idea to name a child Tina with two E's, Teena.
Okay.
Because most people do Tina. No. She was going to do something special. She saw it in a book and she thought it was clever. I've got to say to mothers everywhere, do not name your children simple words that are spelled weird, because you spend a lot of time as a kid telling people how to spell your name and they don't get it right. Tenna, Tina. So here's what happened. When I was a teenager, I was doing work with kids with developmental disabilities and autism and Down syndrome at that time, and cerebral palsy. And one of the little boys had a speech problem and autism. And so Michael couldn't say Tina. Hey, Teepa, tell me it's going. Hey, Teepa, we go to the pad. And so all my friends that hung out with me who also worked with special needs kids started calling me Teepa, because Michael could say Teepa. And they would all go, Teepa. And pretty soon all my friends and my family were calling me Teepa. So when I was a young woman, I legally changed it to Teepa. So it's a given name, but it was given to me by a little boy with a neurodiverse brain that I ran across when I was a teenager. So Michael named me.
Wow. So that I'm glad I asked you, because then I said, I know something about Teepa, because that's a good story. So I do know that you did your training at University of North Carolina. You did some work at Duke. You worked at the Alzheimer's Association. And you launched the positive approach to care. But it sounds like, oh my goodness, your story goes way back, right to teenage years about, so what's the personal story about the work that you do?
Yeah. So when I was a younger kid, my grandmother died, and she had rheumatoid arthritis. And when she died, they lived in Cleveland, and we lived in Pittsburgh. And when she died was when we discovered that my grandfather had something going on, because she had been the brains of the operation. And we visited episodically, but not regularly enough that we noticed that he was having big problems. And so after the funeral, he got through the funeral and everything. We went back to Pittsburgh. He stayed in Cleveland. What ended up happening was we got a phone call. My mom got a phone call, and they said he's breaking into apartments and says he's the superintendent and he needs to fix sinks. I mean, we don't even know what he's talking about. You need to come get him. He can't stay here. And because they lived in an apartment, and she had apparently been managing all this and we didn't know. And so when we went out and got him, because he couldn't stay in the apartment by himself, and he came back home, my mom was a school teacher, single mom, and she also coached the girls' cheerleading squad for the middle school. And I was like 8, 9 years old at the time. And so my job was to keep up with Grandpa after I got home from school. And his job was to drive me to school back and forth and, that kind of thing. So one of the things that happened, my mom was not real good at working with my grandfather. You go, Dad, what part of Mom's dead do you not get? You can't go back, Cleveland. They won't let you go back. And I don't care. I'm out of here. And so, that would erupt. And so I would say, but Grandpa, if you leave, there won't be anybody here until Mom gets home. And he said, well, I can stay one more day, but that's it. And so I learned early on how to help him be okay with staying, because my mom they just aggravated each other. So I somehow figured out he also had to have dinner on the table at 5. My mother got home at 6. So I learned to cook early too, because he had to have dinner on the table. It was a meat, potato, and a vegetable, which he never ate. So I would just reuse them. So I wasn't really particularly safety conscious as a kid, but fortunately he never did eat the green beans, so he didn't end up with whatever botulism or whatever.
The first time dad's alone, the first time a new medicine is started, the first time you move somewhere, that's when, oh, what's going on?
What in the world? What is wrong with him? I mean, he knows better than that. Like, why does he do this stuff? And it's like, well, here's a guess.
Yeah. But I think, so many people have so many stories, and your story is not highly unusual, but actually there's one other thing is a child can be so wonderful. You were 8 years old. You weren't old enough to be a cheerleader. But that, 8-year-old children, they're angels, and I guess you've been an angel your whole life. So.
Well, I just found that niche, and the niche is I'm such a curious kid and I love to try things out. I'm a risk taker. So, like, hey, Mom, how do you make hamburgers? Why are you asking me how to make hamburgers? Well, Grandpa wants to eat and he gets real upset and it's hard to help him. So show me how to make hamburgers. And I'm sure they were hard as a rock because it was like, pat, 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 pat. And you had to make potatoes. Mashed potatoes had to be made from scratch back when I was a kid because there weren't instant.
That's the way I like them now, by the way.
See? Yeah, so I learned how to.
Maybe your grandfather was even able to help give some advice about how to make the hamburger, I mean.
There you go. Yes, because he ran a dairy bar. I mean, they had a little shop when they were young. And so, yeah, there was some of that. But, the not eating the green beans, it was just so annoying.
Yeah, don't eat anything green, yeah.
Well, just put it back in the can and use it tomorrow because he's not going to eat it again either.